Welcome back to CBS Soap Dish Recap, where we recap everything CBS soaps, both the young and the restless, and the bold and the beautiful. And this is your Young and the Restless recap for September 20th. And in today's episode, Kyle and Summer lay down the law with Phyllis and Diane. Nikki is in LA and gets a reminder of her past, and Victoria lets Nick in on her game plan for a hostile takeover. So before we unpack this, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel to receive all updates, and please don't forget to like and share. So we start out in LA as Nikki is in her hotel room where she's meeting up with Talia Morgan. And they're discussing this whole plan to score incriminating information on Diane Jenkins from Deacon Sharp. Now, Talia talks about, working on this book since the whole follow-up stories were killed by her senior editor. So Nikki is glad to hear that because the story is still being told. Now, after Talia urges Nikki to open up about her past with Deacon off the record, Nikki decides that it would be good to work through all of this before her meeting with Deacon. Now, Nikki reflects on how Deacon encouraged all of her drinking and took advantage of the situation when she was accused of killing Diane. And then we got to see some flashbacks as Nikki kind of realized that she can't be complacent or off guard when it comes to Deacon Sharp, or else it's going to bring her some serious trouble. So, speaking of trouble, let's talk about Diane and Phyllis. So, they're over at Society as yesterday they left us with them meeting up with Kyle and Summer. They are fake in this conversation, both saying all the right things with all these flowery words, but they need to back up those flowery words with actions. Summer and Kyle make it strictly clear that if there's one more, zero tolerance, one more confrontation, no matter who provoked it, either one of their moms, both of their moms are going to be out at Marchetti. Now, Phyllis and Diane think that it's unfair. No, it's not. Y'all shouldn't have been there in the first place. But they put on these fake smiles and act like, oh no, there's not going to be any more problems. And we know that's not going to be true. Because, first of all, we know what Phyllis is working on with Ashley and Nikki. Then Diane is over there running her mouth off to Jack about this harsh ultimatum. But Jack acts like, you know what, this is tough love, sweetheart. And he warned her not to fall back into her old habits. Diane gives the assurance that, Jack, I'll take your advice to heart. And he was like, oh, good, I'm glad to hear it. And once Diane, she's trying to make it look like, oh, you are so concerned about me. She get ready to leave the office. She gets this text message about Nikki being in LA with Talia. And this whole mystery sender insists that he or she, because we don't know who it is, can't hold off Talia's editor for much longer. So back with Nikki, she's now sending a mysterious text of her own to Deacon Sharp and tells him, we need to meet up. It's important. Now, Deacon seems kind of like, okay, he looking kind of pensive about it when he looked at that message, which, of course, includes the location of the hotel and the room number. So back in Genoa City, now we see Amani is fretting over her father who had collapsed and was needed to go to the hospital. Now Nate, which I don't understand, was able to get updates from Amani's doctor working on the case. How was he able to do that? Okay. And offer good news. Now, although Amani's dad collapsed due to extreme exhaustion, Nate insists he's going to be just fine. Amani praises Nate for always making her feel better, and he act like Amani is the one that has been so supportive. Yeah, these two going to end up together. Now, Nate also hugs Amani and encourages her to take Devon's jet so she can visit her father. Nate, how you going to tell Devon to give her the jet, even though it is nice if he do? Imani hopes that Nate would reconsider, leaving Chancellor Winters. So, he hints that, yeah, I got a little something more up my sleeve. I got more to accomplish there. Now, after Imani asks Nate to promise her that he'll be back at Chancellor Winters when she get back, all we get is this little grin and insists that, yeah, that's my plan. So, over at Newman Enterprises, we see Victoria is telling Nick how she found out some inside info on Chancellor Winters going public. Now, Victoria wants to use that information to grab as much initial stock offering as possible. Now, her goal is to have majority control and several seats on the board. But Nick got concerns and realized that vindictive Nate must have gave her that information. Now, Nick wonders what is in it for Nate. So Victoria talks about, well, I'll make Nate the CEO of Chancellor Winters in return. Now, Nick gets into a rant about this being unethical, which he's correct. It's espionage. And he warns that if Nate benefits financially from this anyway, he's going to have some serious SEC scrutiny. Now, Victoria was like, oh, don't worry about that. I have to take care of that and be under control. But outside of that, don't you think it's a smart move for Newman? And Nick, on the other hand, think Devon and Lily are going to actually take it personally because it's personal. Now, Nick wonders that if this has something to also do with Billy. Victoria act like, nope, it's all about business, have nothing to do with him. And Nick warns about this being an explosive move and an expensive one too. Now, Victoria admits that she hadn't ran it by her father, Victor, yet, but she thinks that it's ultimately her call in the end and suggests that this is exactly the kind of move that Dad would make. Now, after Victoria talks about Victor having control of Chancellor at one point, she notes that it's hard for him to let go of that legacy, and Victoria acts like this is all a good decision all the way around for everybody and pushes Nick to give her one solid reason why they shouldn't seize the opportunity. Now, Nick realizes that he can't give Victoria one that she want to hear and gives up trying to convince her, at least at this point. Now, afterward, we see Victoria call Nate to reveal that she's been thinking about that proposal and want to meet up. So we got to stay tuned because it says that Nate and Victoria could be playing with fire. And we have to see if they're going to get burned at the end of this. Okay, so there you have it, your Young and the Restless recap for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. Stay tuned for the Bold and the Beautiful recap also for today. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.